What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Bronx and Big League Breakdown. I'm your host, Brady Heslin, and I want to start off this episode by saying I apologize for the lack of episodes recently. I've been busy and just had some stuff happen in my own life, so I just took a couple weeks off, and I'm energized and excited to be back, and I have a lot of news that I have to break down in this episode. So, a lot of stuff for the Giants. The Yankee season is underway. Crazy, I haven't even done an episode since the Yankee season started. I apologize for that, but I'm going to try and break all of that down. Studs and duds are back this week, so super exciting time, and let's just get right into it. I was planning to start with the Yankees all along until the news broke on Saturday that the New York Giants have traded Dexter Lawrence to the Cincinnati Bengals for the 10th overall pick in this year's draft. So, an absolute blockbuster, a draft week blockbuster. So, let's get into it. Let's talk about Dexter Lawrence first, and then we can kind of get into the draft pick situation. So, I still believe Dexter Lawrence is an elite player. I think he's one of the best defensive tackles in the league. He's obviously the best nose tackle in the league. But it's hard to deny that he is coming off a down season for his standards. Only half a sack. Just everything in general is down from past years. But if you watch the games and you watched film and stuff, you know that Dexter Lawrence is still an elite player in the league. He was great in the run game when he was off the field. The Giants' run game got so much worse. I remember specifically that Lions game last year when Dexter Lawrence was not on the field. Jahmyr Gibbs was just doing anything he wanted to the Giants' defense. And the Bengals are betting on that. They are betting that Dexter Lawrence is going to have a bounce back year, and he's going to be the player that he was back in 2024, where he was ranked the 17th best overall player in the National Football League. Because he wasn't that last year. He just wasn't. I don't know if it was the elbow, the work ethic, not sure what it was. And it's clear the Giants and John Harbaugh were not comfortable paying someone off a down year and someone that did not want to be with the New York Giants. So they traded him and they got a great return. The Giants now have two picks inside the top 10 in this year's draft. They have the fifth pick and the 10th pick. And it just gives them so much flexibility with what they want to do. I have a list of a bunch of names that I think the Giants could get at 5 or 10. So I'm just going to break each of them down a little bit. So the first one is Caleb Downs, safety out of Ohio State. This is the guy, probably my number one guy that I want the Giants to get, whether that's at the 5th pick or the 10th pick. I just think how he's being viewed right now, he's so underrated in the draft. He is so underrated. He's more than just a box safety. I think he is, you could argue he's the best player in the draft. I would probably put Jeremiah Love over him. I don't know if I'm putting anyone else over Caleb Downs in this year's draft. It's just because he plays safety and that kind of thing, he's falling in the draft. But I'd be more than comfortable picking him at 5, and I would be ecstatic if the Giants got him with the 10th overall pick. I think he's going to be a stud. They can use him in the Kyle Hamilton role. Just let him do whatever he wants out there at the safety position. Immediate upgrade over Tyler Nubin. I think him and Holland would just be a phenomenal duo. He'd help so much in the run game. There's some concerns about he has something with like an ACL. I don't really care, honestly. Like I think this is just such good value getting him at 5 or 10. And I love that. The next guy is Sonny Styles. If the Giants want him, they're gonna have to pick him at 5 if he's even on the board. There's been rumors he could go at 4 to Tennessee. Freak athlete. I think he's a perfect guy to go with Tremaine Edmonds because you can just let Sonny Styles roam the field alongside Tremaine Edmonds. I'd really like him at 5. I think he's a great fit, a plug-and-play starting linebacker. The Giants could use another linebacker besides Tremaine Edmonds. I mean, Micah McFadden's not bad, but I think ideally he would be the first backup on the bench. Then you have Francis Mauigoa. He's an offensive tackle from Miami. If the Giants were to draft him, I'd be slide into right guard. He'd be a plug-and-play right guard. I think he's the best lineman in the draft. Best tackle in the draft, best guard in the draft. I think he's better than Vega Ione from Penn State, we'll talk about in a little bit. Again, he's a guy I'm fine with picking at 5. I would be ecstatic if the Giants got Mauigoa at 10. There actually have been some injury concerns coming out with Maui Noah, a herniated disc in his back, I believe. And I saw something that said if it flares up, it could end his rookie season early. So that is something to be worried about a bit, but I don't think it's a long-term issue. Um, but I think he's a really good player. I think he's the best offensive lineman in the draft. That's my thoughts on Maui Noah. The next guy is Jeremiah Love. I think Giants fans are pretty split on this. I will say more probably don't want him on the team, but I can kind of give both sides to it. So the people that are for Jeremiah Love is that he's the best player in the draft. Um, I don't think that's much of a debate. I mean, I would debate Caleb Downs, but I would probably put Love over Caleb Downs in this year's draft. But it's just looking at where the Giants are as a team right now. They have a hole at right guard. They have a hole at corner. They have huge holes at defensive tackle. I didn't even talk about this when I talked about the Dexter Lawrence trade. The Giants right now probably have the worst defensive tackle room ever assembled in the league. You've got Darius Alexander, who was a pretty good pass rusher last year, awful in the run game. He's got to take a step up in that department. And then outside of that, I mean, I think you have Roy Robertson Harris still under contract. Sam Roberts, I think is his name, the defensive tackle that they signed. But they are just awful at that position. They have to go sign DJ Reader. They have to sign Shelby Harris. And I think they have to use, at worst, the fourth rounder on him. But I think ideally you'd want to spend that second rounder on a defensive tackle, maybe like a Peter Woods from Clemson. But back to Jeremiah Love. The Giants just have huge holes on this team. They're not in a spot right now to take a running back. I just don't think they're there. You can get through the year with Scadaboo and Tracy and Singletary. That's actually a pretty decent running back room. And I think next offseason, whether it's in free agency, whether it's in the draft, I think that's where you look at running back. Now, if Love somehow they're at 10, which I don't think that's going to be the case, there's been rumors that teams might trade up to 3 to draft Jeremiah Love, and the Titans have also been linked to him at 4. So there's a chance he's not even available for the Giants at the 5th overall pick, which I think that's would be like best case scenario. Honestly, don't even let the Giants have the opportunity to pick him. But if he's there, I would not be surprised if the Giants take him. John Harbaugh is clear. He wants to establish the run game. And if the Giants take him, it's not that I'm mad about the player Jeremiah Love. Jeremiah Love would come in and be a top 10 to 15 running back in the league like that. I mean, I'd have to look at the list of running backs, but I think he'd be a top end of the league running back immediately. He'd be a huge playmaker. People are calling him a weapon more than a running back. I don't think that's really true. I think you can only really use that for Christian McCaffrey because he actually like plays in the slot. Like people tried saying about Saquon. He's a running back. Saquon Barkley's a running back. Jeremiah Love is a running back, but he's a really good one. And I wouldn't love the pick. I'm not gonna lie. I would rather Styles, Downs, Maui Noah, just because they fill more holes. And I just think the Giants, they're not in a spot right now to take a running back. It's kind of tough to explain, but like I just don't think they're there yet. You know what I mean? So I hope that makes sense. That's my thoughts on Jeremiah Love. Moving on, Mansour Delane, corner out of LSU. I'm not a huge fan of picking corners in the first round, especially this early. They just have a really high bust rate, and the Giants have been poor at it in the past. So it kind of gives me PTSD with Eli Apple, Deontay Banks, DeAndre Baker. So, but I think Mansour Delane can be an exception. Great athlete, great skills. He'd come in, immediately be a starting corner for this team. But corners, they just need time to develop. And the Giants are a rebuilding team. So, I mean, you could make the argument, why not just take him and let him develop? But they just have such a high bust rate. I would rather down Styles, Maui Noah than Delane. I'd be much more comfortable with Delane at 10 than 5. I think 5 is really early because, okay, you're not Mendoza, you know, off the board. So out of, down Styles, Maui Noah, if all 3 of those guys are gone, then I think you go with Arvell Reese, in my opinion. I haven't really gotten to talk about him yet because I didn't think he was going to be available necessarily at 5. And now I'm seeing things that he could be available, and that if he's there, do not be surprised if the Giants pick him. So Arvell Reese is really just like kind of like a gadget defensive player is the best way to kind of describe him. He can play linebacker, he can rush the passer. I'd be ecstatic with that pick. I think he's a freak athlete and that kind of thing. So, but I also think if David Bailey. But if that scenario happens somehow, all those guys are gone, which I don't think that would happen. But David Bailey would also be on the board, the edge rusher. And I've seen things that teams would be willing to trade up and spend a lot to get David Bailey. So I think if Bailey or Reese are on the board at 5, look for a Giants trade back, which again, I would love if the Giants could trade back from one of these two picks. They don't have a third rounder. I'd love to get, like if they move down from 5, even just a couple spots, or if they even went all the way back to like 12 or 13, something like that, and they got another first plus even a future first, like next year's draft class look loaded, so you get a future first, or if you could get a third, like a second, a third, or like even a second, a fourth, like something like that, like I think that would be huge for this team, and just let John Harbaugh and Joe Shane just throw as many darts at the board as they can and just see if they can hit on some guys, because this team has a lot of holes and they don't have a ton of draft picks, and 3 of their picks are in the 6th round. So, yeah, keep going on these tangents. The next thing I want to talk about is Carnell Tate, wide receiver out of Ohio State. I'm not as high as him as some others are. I think he'll be a 1,000-yard receiver in the NFL. I just don't ever see him being that guy necessarily. Like, I don't think he's going to be like, I think he can be a wide receiver 1. I don't think he's going to be a top end of the league wide receiver 1. I think his ideal role is going to be a high-end wide receiver 2, like that's his ceiling, in my opinion. I could be totally wrong. I don't want him at 5. Like I just flat out don't want that. At 10, I'm more okay with it. But him and Jordan Tyson are really close for me. I almost would lean Jordan Tyson, but like it's tough. But Tate's not a guy I want at 5. If they traded back to 12 and he was somehow there, then I like that a little bit more. But I don't know if I love him. Actually, I know I don't love him at 5. The next guy is Vega Ione. I hope I'm saying that. He's the guard out of Penn State. Another guy I'm not quite as high on as other people are. You know, there's some people that are comparing him to like a Quentin Nelson. He's just not that kind of prospect. But he's still a solid guard. I don't want him at 5 at all. But at 10, I'm comfortable with it. I would prefer Maui Noah again, despite the injury concerns. But Ione, plug and play guard. He's going to be a really good player, but I think I prefer Maui Noah slightly. Next guy is Jermon McCoy, the corner out of Tennessee. This guy is a better athlete and probably more talented than Mansour Delane, but the injuries on this guy is unreal. He has a crazy injury history. So when you combine the bust rate at corner plus the injury concerns, I'm almost completely out on Jermon McCoy. Like if they draft him at 10, I can get behind it. Like I understand their thought process, but man, I'm going to be real worried. Like it is a really high risk draft pick if you're going to pick Jermon McCoy. The last guy I want to talk about is Jordan Tyson, wide receiver out of Arizona State. He has been linked. I apologize about that. Another reason I didn't do a podcast last week was I was super congested and my throat was like messed up. I was losing my voice constantly, but I'm back now. So Jordan Tyson, he's been heavily linked to the Giants the last couple days. There have been reports that say like, don't even necessarily be surprised if he goes at 5. I wouldn't like that, but I'm perfectly comfortable going with him at 10. You know, plug and play, wide receiver 2. You know, no ifs, ands, or buts about it with Tyson. So now I kind of want to rank who I want for the Giants. Here it's kind of tough. I'm not necessarily a draft expert. I kind of just, read what I hear and, look at some trusted people that I have. Plus I try to watch some games, but I'm super busy, so it's tough. For me, my top player is Caleb Downs. I think he's going to be a stud. Like I genuinely just think he's going to be the best player on this list, potentially outside of Jeremiah Love. But his instincts, his athletic ability, he's so NFL ready, and he'll just come in and make a huge impact for this Giants team. And he's so underrated. Like I cannot believe that there are reports he would be on the board at 10. Like I can't believe that. So Caleb Downs is my number 1. Number 2, it's really tough between Styles and Maui Noah for me. I probably lean Sonny Styles just because of the upside and I don't know. In the injury thing with Maui Noah, I lean Styles slightly there, but Maui Noah will be my three. At four, this is tough. I th- I think, man, I think I go Jordan Tyson, honestly, out of Arizona State. I think for this Giants team, and I'm just not a huge fan of drafting corners, and I think wide receivers, um, they can really boom, man. And this guy's got a lot of talent. I know there's injury history there, but I think I go Tyson. Then I think I go Mansour Delane out of LSU. I really like him as a prospect. It's just tough for me to get around drafting a corner. I know it's weird, but um, as weird as this sounds, at five, I would be more comfortable taking Jeremiah Love. At 10, I'm more comfortable taking Vega Ione. Um, I'll probably go Jeremiah Love, honestly, next. I'm not a huge Vega Ione fan, and I just think um, Love's gonna be a stud, but it's so tough. It's so difficult. And then I'll go Carnell Tate, and then um, Jermon McCoy. Jermon McCoy, it wouldn't shock me if he came into the league and was an absolute stud. It's just the injuries, just they scare me. They scare me a lot. So those are my. I think that's almost all the Giants news. Let me just read. Oh, Odell Beckham Jr. was on a visit today with the Giants, had a physical, worked out, that kind of thing. Bring him in. This is the fan part of me talking. I understand from Joe Sheen and John Harbaugh's perspective. You have neighbors, Calvin Austin, Darnell Mooney, Darius Slayton. You're likely to draft a wide receiver somewhere in the draft, whether it's first round, second round, or even a day three pick. They're probably going to take a wide receiver. So you're going to have him. Hyatt's still on the roster, even though I would cut him for Odell Beckham. And Beckham's not going to be a guy that's really going to play special teams. So it's like, does he really have a spot? Um, I don't know, but the, you know, fifth grader in me, the 11-year-old, 11-year-old, watching Odell Beckham Jr. and then, breaking my heart. Literally, I remember I was playing video games and my dad texted me, OBJ was traded, and I was just hurt, man. It sucked. Um, so I want him to come back. I have an autographed OBJ thing over there, so the fan in me would absolutely love it. But I understand it might not make sense for the Giants to do that. And then Brandon Allen signed his quarterback three. Um, he's fine. I mean, hopefully he never sees the field. Kind of my thoughts on him. And the Giants signed Daniel Falele, who Ravens fans absolutely despise. I guess he was terrible last year. He's a big dude, 6'8", 380, and he is currently the Giants' starting right guard. So hopefully they can improve there. I don't know why they haven't brought back Greg Van Roten. They need to do that. Um, and then they signed Lucas Patrick, depth guard. So excuse me, that is everything I have. Oh, one more thing. Start applauding. I haven't done an episode since this happened yet, so it's kind of old news. But Graham Gano has been released. I am saved. Finally, the amount of episodes I've spent just talking about Graham Gano and the kicker situation, it's finally over. I am free. Graham Gano is no longer on the Giants. Thank God. So that's all I have for the Giants. Huge week. I'm super excited for the draft. I am planning on making reaction videos to the Giants draft picks, so you can get my reaction right when the pick is made. So super excited for that. And let's move on now to the New York Yankees, the team that is in season. I have a lot to talk about for them. So the Yankees are currently 13-9. They're half a game up in the AL East. They started hot. I believe they were 8-1. Then they sucked. They lost five in a row. They got to, was it 8-7, I believe? So maybe it was, or 9-7. And now they're back. They swept the Royals. I kind of just want to talk through a bunch of guys on the team. Just kind of my thoughts on them, just because there's so many games. I can't I don't have the time to break down each individual game. Again, I apologize for not doing episodes. Just a combination of things. I just kind of need to take some time. But I'm back now and excited to be doing it. So I'm literally just going to go kind of position by position and just kind of talk through it. So let's start at catcher. Austin Wells got off to a terrible start. He's looked a little bit better. He's been pretty good, I think, with the ABS challenges. But it's just weird because coming through the system, Wells was a offensive catcher and it was the defense that needed work. Now it's like it flipped. His offense has not been very good the past season and whatever 22 games in that we're in right now. But his defense has actually been pretty solid. So I'd like to see him get better. I'm not asking him to be some middle of the order, stud bat, but I like him to be a serviceable guy at the bottom of the order. And I don't want there to be a time where I'm like, Austin Wells is up, like, here we go. And it kind of felt like that, earlier in the year. And then JC Escara, he's a fan favorite, one of my favorite players, JC Escara. But yeah, I don't know. He's easy to root for. I don't know. I like rooting for him. He's been terrible, to be honest, except for that one game where he had a triple. Started off, I believe, 0 for 12. But, small sample. I like him as a player. I like his profile, honestly. Doesn't strike out a ton and that kind of thing. So I'd like to see more from him. But if it continues like this, if Rice is ready, I'd probably just send him down and get like an Oswaldo Cabrera or another bullpen arm up. Actually, I don't know the rule on that. I don't know what the maximum number of pitchers you can have, but yeah. First base, Ben Rice. Been the best hitter on the team to start the year. Ben Rice has been phenomenal. Hitting, I have his stats on right. He was in 338, 476 on base, 800 slug with an 1.276 OPS, 8 home runs. He's clearly taken a step up defensively at first. He's looked great on scoops, tracked down a couple of good pop-ups and that kind of thing. So just a huge step forward for Ben Rice. He's quickly emerging into one of my favorite Yankee players. And I had a 1,000 IQ fantasy baseball play this year where I drafted Ben Rice, but he has catcher eligibility. So Ben Rice, who's been one of the best hitters in the league this year, is currently my catcher in fantasy, and it is going amazing. So thank you, Ben Rice. I'm so glad he's taking a step up this year. And the Yankees need to just make him an everyday player. Don't make 38-year-old Unk Paul Goldschmidt take reps from Ben Rice. No offense to Goldschmidt, but Ben Rice has shown that he can hit lefties, play him against lefties. He's one of the best hitters in the league to start the year. Goldschmidt, not a lot to say about him. He's actually done well in his opportunities, but I want Rice to get more opportunities. Second base. This guy's probably been the most disappointing player so far on the Yankees, and that is Jazz Chisholm Jr. He's hitting 164 with a 265 on base, 233 slug, and a 498 OPS. He's got no homers, striking out a ton. He has been pretty good in the field, except for that Rays game. That was awful. And one of the worst post-game pressers I've ever seen in my life. Just terrible overall. He's been good on the bases. He's stealing bags, but it's just the bat has just been terrible. No home runs. We're 22 games in, and Jazz has not hit a home run. I think he's pressing a little bit. Contract year. He's talking about a big game in the offseason. I think, Jazz just needs to get simple. I don't know. I'm not just hopefully he can snap out of it. If they have to Phantom IL him, I don't think that's the worst idea either. When Volpe comes back, you could maybe shift Caballero at second or something, or Rosario at second. But yeah, just hopefully he gets better. Shortstop, Jose Caballero. He got off to a bad start, but he's looked a lot better recently. He took that pick off the back. That looked like it really hurt in the last game, but he's wreaking havoc on the bases. He's had some clutch hits the last couple of games, so rough start for him, but he's turned it around a lot. I still think Volpe's going to come back and be the starting shortstop. But Caballero, they got to find ways to get him in the game, even when Volpe's back. Give Volpe a day or two a week at least, unless he's on fire. But if he's really struggling, honestly, I'd split it at the bare minimum. Third base, Ryan McMahon. He's been terrible. I don't care. I do care, and I'm glad he hit the home run, the pinch hit homer to win the game against the Royals. But this is a guy that should not be on the team past the trade deadline. or maybe I took that. He should not be the starting third baseman. I don't think he should be the starting third baseman right now. I think it should be Rosario, but at the minimum, he should not be the starting third baseman past the trade deadline unless he just somehow starts hitting even if he gets if he gets 240 and has decent power, okay, I can get behind it. But I mean, the guy he's hitting 130 with a 286 on base, 196 slug, and a 483 OPS. He's just terrible, and his at bats feel hopeless. He doesn't even have good at bats. I don't want to play devil's advocate or whatever, but the home run he hit was not even that good of a swing. I mean, he went the other way, but it was third row. I don't know. I'm just not a big Ryan McMahon fan. The Yankees love his defense. The numbers don't necessarily back it up. Like he wasn't a great defender last year. I don't know what I mean, he made some good plays, but his outs above average weren't anything insane to make up for him hitting a buck 30. So I don't know. I'm not a big Ryan McMahon fan, honestly. Um, he, I don't get the it factor from him. I just Ahmed Rosario. I get it. I don't know. He's got some swag. Ryan McMahon has no swag. And it's a bad way to kind of break down a player. I feel but you can feel that stuff. Like Jazz is struggling right now. He still has that it factor. When Jazz Chisholm's at the plate, you're not it doesn't feel as hopeless as it does with Ryan McMahon. And I know Jazz is a way better than McMahon. It's probably a bad example, but I don't know. He just doesn't have that vibe. I don't know. I think I could see him being a guy that's just not really built for New York as well. Um, but yeah, that's my thoughts on McMahon. I feel bad for kind of hating on him a lot there, but hit higher than a buck 30, and I can you know not hate on you as much. And then Ahmed Rosario. He's just a fun player to watch, man. I mean, he single-handedly won the Yankees a game with his 2 home runs, and then he had a homer off a righty. And I know he's not a great defender at third, but that's why you have McMahon. You can put McMahon in late in games. I'd be giving Rosario as many reps as possible. Um, Unless he really starts struggling, then I'd have McMahon play a bit against righties. But I like him a lot more than McMahon, um, and I think he should get more reps at third. Heading out to left field, Cody Bellinger. He's having a really solid year. He's having a Cody Bellinger year. I think he's kind of underrated among Yankee fans. I don't think people quite understood just how much of an impact he makes for this team. He's just a solid, top of the order bat, always reliable. Good speed, good defense, just all around a great player and kind of like an unsung hero a little bit for this Yankees team, in my opinion. You got Trent Grisham in center. Slow start, low batting average. I think he's hitting a buck 50, a buck 60. But the on base is still high. He's walking more than he's striking out. The power is starting to come on. I'm not worried with Trent Grisham. I feel like I'm turning into a Trent Grisham defender, and I might just lean into it a little bit because I was glad that I'm in football mode. I'm glad that the Yankees brought him back in the offseason. I thought $22 million. I didn't think that was a bad deal at all. 1 year deal. If he sucks, if he keeps hitting a buck 50 or whatever, you can get rid of him at the end of the year. You can dump him at the deadline, whatever, and no harm, no foul. But he's another guy where McMahon's at bats have felt hopeless. Randall Grichuk, who we'll talk about, his at bats have felt hopeless. Ascaro's at bats at times felt hopeless. I know, kind of comparing him to bench-ish players, but Trent Grisham's had really good at bats. And maybe I sound like Aaron Boone. I don't know. But I've liked his at bats. He's still getting on base. The power is coming back. He's hit 3 home runs, just in the past couple of games, including the pinch hit, homer. I really like Grisham. He's playing better defense. I know he misplayed that ball in center. That makes me look bad for that argument, but I like Grisham. I think he's playing a lot better than the numbers show, and I think it'll all even out in the end. That's just my opinion. And then in right, Aaron Judge. Slow start. He's only hitting 230 right now, maybe 240. He's got 9 homers at the top of the league for that, on pace at 68 or something like that. I'm not worried about Judge at all, really. Started the year with 4 strikeouts against San Francisco, but he is striking out a bit, missing some pitches that he probably wouldn't miss if we're in July and August. But again, not worried about Judge. It's not like he's hitting 160 with 4 homers. Average is climbing, on base is climbing, everything's climbing. Not worried. We've seen him have not great March and April's in the past, and then be end the year hitting 330 with 50 some homers. Like I'm not really concerned with Judge. And then Stanton, he got off to a really hot start. I mean, he had 5 multi-hit games in the first 5 games of the year. Now he's 1 for his last 21, I believe was the stat I saw. Sorry, I don't have it all pulled up, but Stanton's another guy where he still has that it factor to him. I mean, he's still Giancarlo freaking Stanton. Like, you have to be careful to him. I don't care if he's 1 for 50. He's just his presence in the lineup helps the Yankees so much. And I like how they're strategically giving him off days. They're getting him like double off days. He's only DHing, obviously. So the main thing with him is just keeping him healthy and having him for October with Giancarlo. And I'm not worried about him at all. I mean, we see him have these stretches. I mean, he's a guy where he will take the worst swing you've ever seen in his life. He will swing at a 55-foot slider in the lefty's batter's box, and then the next pitch to try and sneak a fastball by him, he puts it 450 dead center. So, not worried about Giancarlo at all. Just some other names I want to talk about. Randall Grichuk sucks. He'll be DFA'd when Volpe's back. I think that's actually everyone on the offensive, all the hitters. Now we'll talk about some pitching briefly. The starting pitching has been phenomenal for the Yankees this year. They've had one of the best units in the league. Fried's been awesome. Warren's been awesome. Schlittler's been one of the best arms in the league. Just that trio right there has been really, really solid for the Yankees this year. Weathers, he had he had a great start, and then he struggled a bit, gave up, was it back-to-back-to-back homers against the Angels, but he settled down on that start. He still had 10 strikeouts. He had a really good start against Kansas City. I think he's a guy that will probably go to the bullpen when Rodon and Cole are back, and I think his stuff will be really good in the bullpen. He's been a solid, number 4 for the Yankees this year without a doubt. And then Luis Gil, I don't know what to do with Luis Gil, man. He's got to get his velocity back. Like I don't know, because I think he can project to go to the bullpen, but he's, when you're sitting 95, like he needs to get back to that 96, 97, 98 mile an hour Luis Gil, not 94, 95. Like his stuff doesn't look as good too. Like the slider doesn't look as sharp. So we'll see, man. We'll see with Gil. He's going to continue to get reps, but when you've got LeGrande knocking on the door, and AAA, like, it's just, and Elmer Rodriguez, like, what's the future look like for Luis Gil? And then if they trade him, they're pretty much trading him at a low. I mean, they could have gotten a ton for him if we're talking just a year and a half ago. So, tough spot. Luis Gil just got to start performing. And then the bullpen. This has been the part of the team that has made me the most frustrated this year. Look back at almost any of my off-season videos talking about the Yankees. I talk extensively about how I was worried about this bullpen. They lost Devin Williams. They lost Luke Weaver. Those, as much as you might hate them and say they're choke artists or whatever, they were 2 of the best arms that this team had in the bullpen. What did they do to replace them? Cade Winquist? His Yankee highlights are warming up in the bullpen, then getting DFA'd, and now he's back with St. Louis. Is it Angel Chivilli? Yeah, he's looked phenomenal, in his time with the Yankees, and he's been in the minors mostly. Rafael Montero, the minor league deal, the guy in AAA right now. You re-signed Yarbo and Paul Blackburn like that. They didn't do anything. That's what I'm trying to get. They didn't do anything to improve the bullpen, and now you have David Bednar and Tim Hill are like the only 2 guys you can rely on. Brett Hedrick is turning into like a 7th or 8th inning guy when, maybe Bednar can't go or Hill or whatever. If Fernando Cruz can't throw a splitter, forget it. Camilo Doval's been terrible. Like, and then they have the revolving door for the last spot. And Blackburn and Yarbrough, they're 2 like long relievers. Like, you're not really going to bring them in for an inning or 2. They're not overpowering. So, like, what are you doing? Like, they need to improve this bullpen. Thankfully, this is probably the easiest position to improve at the deadline. There's always arms available. They're going to have to improve because this bullpen sucks. Like, it sucks for, Yankee standards especially. So, it'll help when Weathers or even Heel or whatever go to the bullpen, I mean, I wouldn't like if they had, Weathers, Blackburn, and Yarbrough. That seems like overkill. I'd get rid of Blackburn. Um, but it's just frustrating because I could see this happening. Like I could see it. Like you can't throw Bednar and like Hill every day. It's like what are you doing? And like Doval hasn't taken the step up or whatever, but it's just like you could see it happening when you have Yarbrough, Blackburn, Winquest, and Chivilli, De Los Santos, Jake Bird was terrible. So it's like, what are you doing? Like, I don't know. They're lucky Brett Hedrick has been solid because if he was the Brett Hedrick of last year, I don't know what they would do. Um, yeah, I think that's pretty much everything that I wanted to talk about with the Yankees. So now we can move on to studs and duds. This is finally back for the first time since the last New York Giants game against the Dallas Cowboys. We are back with studs and duds. And the first stud is going to Cam Schlittler. 27 and two-thirds innings pitched, 36 strikeouts, only 3 walks, a 1.95 ERA, and a .76 whip. And hitters are hitting 178 against Cam Schlittler this year. The Yankees have something with Schlittler. I mean, this guy is filthy. I mean, just pumping fastballs by people, got the good curveball in the mix in. He's basically saying, I'm betting that you're not going to hit my fastball. And they're not hitting it. So Schlittler been absolutely phenomenal this year. He earns the first stud. And the next stud is another, younger Yankee. You got Ben Rice, who actually is 27. I looked that up. I didn't believe it when I saw it. I was surprised he's actually 27, but carrying on. Ben Rice, 338 average, 476 on base, 800 slug, a 1.276 OPS, 8 homers. Again, I talked about Rice a lot. He's walking almost as much as he strikes out, which is almost unheard of in today's game. That's why I like to point it out. Improved defense, been one of the best hitters in the league. Just continues to take that step up, and man, he's just a force in the Yankees lineup so far. Next thing I want to talk about, I might have some personal bias with this guy, but it's Will Warren. I am so happy for Will Warren because I think people kind of wrote him off after last year because he had some really bad starts, but he also had some really great starts. And there were starts where he'd give up, 6, 7, 8, whatever runs in the first inning. Like he was terrible in the first inning last year, or just first time through the order in general. But he's looked really solid this year. He's got 25 and a third innings pitched, 2.49 ERA, 31 strikeouts, 1.11 WHIP, and opponents are hitting 224 against him. I'm happy for him. I think Yankees fans kind of forgot about him. I didn't though. I'm a Will Warren believer. I'm a Will Warren stan, and it's just great overall that the Yankees are getting starts from Warren and Weathers and even Heel. Heel has been great, but in past years, even last year, they were starting like Cookie Carrasco to start the year, and then you've got like Randy Vasquez, who's actually been pretty good, or like Johnny Brito. Like these are like legit arms that are really good. So yeah, and the last thing I want to talk about is Brett Hedrick. 11 and a third innings pitched, a 1.59 ERA, and 13 strikeouts. Some of the other numbers aren't great. Like the teams are getting like 270 against him, and he's got like a 1.5 whip. But you know what? He's getting outs and he's not giving up runs, and that's the name of the game. So shout out Brett Hedrick. Now for the duds. The first guy is Ryan McMahon. I already went through him a lot. I'm not going to harp over a ton. He's just not hitting the ball well, and I have some other concerns with him and whatever. Jazz Chisholm's another one. Like I already kind of said it. Got to take a step up. I'm not super panicky yet with Jazz, but given another week or two, and if he's doesn't have a homer still, I'm good. Jazz, what are we doing? Like we're 30, 35 games in. Like let's get it going here. Camilo Doval, 8 and a third innings pitched, 7.56 ERA. Just has not been reliable. Home run ball has been a bugaboo a little bit. It's got to be better. The Yankees need him to take a step up. I mean, this guy was a stud. He was a stud with the Giants. He was their closer. And this year, he's just been rough for the Yankees. And the last one's Reno Grichuk. I don't like the guy. 2 for 20, no homers, 8 strikeouts. He'll be gone, though. He'll be gone pretty soon, I believe. So those are my studs and duds. This Week in History will be back next week. And then looking forward, the draft is a big thing with the Giants. And then the Yankees take on Boston. This is a huge series. The Yankees are 0-3 right now in the division. They need to win this series and get right in the division. The Red Sox have been terrible recently, but they always play the Yankees tough. The Yankees struggle against Boston. Boston scouts the Yankees really well. So this is going to be a big series for the Yankees to kind of see what they're made of. It's their first time playing in Boston since the infamous Tyler Austin, Joe Kelly, fighting game. Um, First time playing them in April, I should say. So huge series coming up. Super excited for it. Again, I apologize for the lack of episodes recently. I'm going to try to get back to this weekly schedule. But thank you guys for sticking with me. Um, and I appreciate you all. Thanks for watching or listening. And let's go Yankees and let's go Giants.